We can collapse what it is that we think that we are. That's not what we are. And we can choose to be insanely great. What do you think? What do we got? 2 episodes out of that? So part 1 and part 2. So we talked about the arc of light, and we talked about that story, and what a beautiful, moment that, I thought was an incredible synchronicity that had occurred there. The next morning, so Monday morning, I get a text from my amazing, radiant light, Karen. I love you, Karen. Amazing. Thank you, Karen, from most amazing bakery and cafe on the planet, Aioli West Palm Beach. And it was just something to check out their restaurant, or their, I call it a kind of a beam of light to all that love, amazing pastries and breads and sandwiches and salad and all that stuff. But the people are what make all of that. The love and care and intention that goes into all of that. They were featured on a local television program, and she shared that with me, and I thought that was really beautiful. And so it was almost like setting. I didn't know at the time, but it was almost like a basis and a foundation of love. It's someplace that I love, and the people are incredible. Anakin, Jesse, Fabi, Melissa, Maria, Jacobo, Alex, Alexis, Renee, Colin, Melanie, Chef Michael, Maddie, Harley, Kat, Rick, JC, James, all of these incredible people that put so much love into something, and to have that be kind of a foundation for Monday was really, I'm realizing now and looking back, so important. Because a few hours after that, I got a call that my amazing 97-year-old grandmother had a stroke. And these things happen when you're 97, right? I mean, God bless her for moving through life and getting to that point. But that had happened. And of course, these things happen to life, and these moments happen to all of us. And we all have these tragic things that happen to people we love and people that care about. And, we're here. One point I want to make very clearly is that, I'm here doing my best to express the love I have for life and humanity, and for all that is. And I use a lot of references of very famous people and very famous, as Einstein said, the most influential people that have walked among us. And that's intentional, because that's who we can all resonate with. We all know who those people are, right? But we all, in our own lives, have people that inspire us before we know who those people are. Usually, right? If you're Steve Jobs and you're reading at, books of wisdom at 5 years old, then maybe he knew who those people were. But from the stories he told of his childhood and all of that, he had an incredible childhood. But my point is that we have all these influential people with all these names that we recognize and all of their achievements that are public to the world, right? As John Lennon said, I heard in an interview, listening to the Beatles station on Sirius Radio, he said, "I'm just living in the public eye. I'm just a normal person doing things and making decisions and all of that. But because I'm in the public eye, everybody knows who I am." Right? And so that's what's happening. And so that's of course, then the platform as to being able to connect and engage with people of all these influential people. And how do we pull it together? How do we pull it together into something that makes sense? How do we pull it together in something that's valuable for all of us to potentially have an awareness, to have an open mind, to think about and to digest and to understand? Can we do that? Right? But these are all famous people, but every one of us have these people of influence in our lives that influence us we're all the way from when we're children all the way to when, we grow up, right? And we all have those people. Every one of us do. People that love us, people that support us, people that make choices and act in certain ways to where we might not be cognizant of it in the moment, but we take on those qualities. We take on those attributes. We take on the style. We take on the things that they like. It might not be all of it, but there's certain elements of it that we do. And if we really think about it and reflect on it, that happens. That happens. Right? And so I felt it was important to mention that because, we all have these people that are influential in our lives. We all have these spirits of life that are in all of our present moments, doing things and having an influence upon us to either accept as truth, which then becomes who we are. What we accept as truth and what we accept and feel and believe is who we are right now in this moment. And all of the things that we've accepted throughout our lives become who we are. Become who we are. My grandmother always had a saying. She said, cook with your own pot. Cook with your own pot. What does that mean? That means run your life. Run your own life. You are the one that's putting the ingredients in the pot. Yes, absolutely. But cook with your own pot. Have the foundation within your life to be stable. Have to stable as a foundation. But then can we build on that? Can we build on that? Can we pull ingredients that we love to then create meals of what we end up having as part of our experience in present moments? Can we do that? Well, yeah, cook with your own pot. Cook with your own pot. Right? Cook with your own pot. You'll have to borrow pots from other people, neighbors, friends, and family until we figure out that we just want our own pot. We don't have to go ask somebody for a pot. No, can we cook with our own pot? And let those experiences and let those things that we accept as truth become part of the ingredients to who we are. Because what we cook with that pot is who we are in every present moment. It's what we express. It's what we emanate, what we radiate. Right? Cook with your own pot. Thank you, Grandma. Cook with your own pot. So yeah, so then, Monday was absolutely horrible. Go to the hospital and there she is. She's already in a coma, and I held her hand with my family around her and her, my father and my aunts and her two children, and stepmom Christine, father's wife, was there. It was just being there around her to support her while she was in this state that was, product of the circumstances. And I just held her hand. That's all I could do. And I told her I loved her and all of this, and which is all, I think every one of us that has ever been in a similar situation understands. As a beautiful fleet, I'll call it a fleet because I don't know what to call a school of birds. You call a school of fish a school of birds. There's a beautiful mourning doves here, which my grandmother taught me what that was. I didn't even know what this dove was. It's a mourning dove, which, is what those birds are called. And so, and interestingly, the other day I was talking to my aunt Barbara, and she said that she didn't know that my grandmother told me that those were mourning doves, and she was kind of the first one in my life from an early young age to identify a bird to me, which is pretty cool. And then she had always looked for them throughout her life, but she didn't realize that my grandmother loved them just as much as she did, right? Which I thought was quite beautiful. So that later Monday, she got moved to hospice and was in a room and where there's no monitors, there's no beeping. The entire time we're sitting there for like 5 hours with her. She was beep beep. Potassium's gone. The funny thing is, like, the last thing that they gave her was potassium. And that morning when I was walking on the beach, I saw a guy with a bunch of bananas on he had a shirt with a bunch of bananas on. Like, it's a cool shirt, and then and then the final final, medicine that my grandmother was getting was potassium. I thought it was interesting. But anyway, so they put her in a room for hospice, which, by the way, everyone at Broward Health North, thank you, and Vitas, and all the nurses and all the people in hospice. And as I'm talking about this, I mentioned Emergency NYC and Lenox Hill Hospital and all these other places, but the first responders and the people that have so much love to put other people first, and to put all of their energy and all of the purpose that they've found within themselves to be a servant to humanity is incredible, absolutely incredible. And thank you so much for your selflessness and your love for the human spirit, and thank you for that. Thank you. And so when we went someplace else, I think we went to go get something to eat, and then we came back to the room, and she was in the room. My grandmother was in the room. She was in the bed. No monitors, none of that nonsense. No more buzzing and beeping and alarms and all that crazy stuff. And the doctor kind of spoke to us, which I thought was incredibly interesting. Is he asked what our expectations were. I feel like the intention of that question was the multitude of experiences this doctor had been in which it was incredibly clear to him, but the people that the family had no concept, because for whatever reason, whether they didn't want to believe it, whether they didn't want to understand it, whether they just showed up and they didn't know, right? Because we have this attachment to people. We have this love for woodpecker, red-headed woodpecker. We have this love for people, right? And we're blinded by that, and are only focused on keeping them alive and doing everything possible, and because that's what we think we need to do, and that's what we think is the best thing. And I feel that, and when my family, we all said, comfortable, like, make her as comfortable as possible, because this is not something that's, we're not, she's not coming home, and it was really just that. And I could see the instant, like, relief. I can imagine the conversations he's had to have with families and with people that either don't agree or don't, whatever the circumstance is. And there's no judgment for any of those feelings. We all have a right to have whatever feeling we're having in every moment, all the time. We all have that right. In a previous episode, I said we don't owe anybody anything. And the reality is, nobody else owes us anything either. And those two sayings feed right into my grandmother's saying, cook with your own pot. If you cook with your own pot, you're the one that finds the ingredients, but you got your own pot. So nobody owes you anything, and you don't owe anybody anything. Right? And so the doctor, he was incredible. The nurse, incredible people. The chaplain and all these people. Thank you so much. And we spent some time with her. We had already spent most of the day with her, and it was kind of like, I felt, nobody really said it, but it just kind of felt like it was going to be a quick, and Donna, thank you for being there. That was incredibly beautiful. You were there. You're such a wonderful friend to my grandmother and family. And so, it was quiet. It was peaceful. And, my dad went up to her and said some things, and Christine went up to her and said some things, and my aunt did. And then actually before that, we're going to rewind a little bit. We're sitting there, and, my aunt looks at us, and she's holding my grandmother's hand, I think. And she says, I have a confession to make. And she said that a couple weeks prior to that, the week before Easter, that my grandmother had said to her that she wanted to die. She was ready to go. And my beautiful butterfly. And if you're wondering, by the way, there's flowers behind me, Riley and Prodigy team. Thank you so much for that beautiful expression of appreciation of the inspiration that my grandmother was in my life. So that's why that's there. If you haven't maybe put those together or thought about it, whatever, but it's such a beautiful arrangement. So that's why it's behind me. But my grandmother's response to my aunt when she said she wanted to die was, I don't know where I lost life. Don't know where I lost life. Have such a profound statement of deep thought to come from a woman that she would tell me all the time, Joseph, my body doesn't do what it wants to do anymore. Whether it was her knees or whatever it was, she's like, it just doesn't do what I want it to do anymore. Doesn't do what I want it to do anymore. Right. And her mind was, she absolutely, had dementia, but it wasn't, she remembered who we were, and which is wonderful. But she could, and it took some kind of unpeeling, but there was still deep thought there. And to have and say something like that. And then I thought and reflected upon my moments the past few days, the beautiful Cardi, waving his wings in front of me. And then the arc of light, Steve Jobs, and your life is here, and radiate and be all that you can be and do all that you can do, and imagine all that you can imagine, to express that while you're here. And for essentially, my grandmother, who has been in my life. I love you, but Grandma, you have been like a second mother to me, and a character of a person, of a human being that had throughout your entire life made selfless choices, was strong in. I never saw you cry, Grandma. Never. Never. I never saw you cry. When we're sitting in the hospital, this amazing nurse from our family's from the Ukraine, she was so sweet and so wonderful. She said, this generation was a generation of badasses. This generation was a generation of badasses. And yes, absolutely. She was part of a generation of badasses. And the next day, I'll fast forward for a moment. The next day, I'm walking through my yard in the morning, in the morning, and I'm looking, and I'm like, and I see part of my yard, and there's like some brush, and I'm like, and then just the thought came to me. When I was a younger child, my grandmother would feed cats. She was almost like the neighborhood cat lady when she was able to do all that stuff. And she lived at home till 96. She lived at home until 96 by herself. Incredible spirit. Radiant. She fed cats in her, mostly in her 80s. By the time in the end, she was not feeding the cats anymore. But one day, one of the cats brought her back a gift. It was a dead rat. And I remember being a child, and I was like, whoa, get that away from me. I'm totally afraid and scared of this rat that's dead, that's there, that would happen to be a gift for that one of the cats brought to my grandmother for feeding her. And I thought about that. And then so I go up to the part in my yard. I look into it. It's the bottom of a gutter. We had just had a lot of rain, even though it's sunny now and beautiful now. We just had a lot of rain. And what do you think is in the bottom of that thing? A dead rat. A dead rat was in the bottom of that. It was in the bottom of that gutter thing. And I'm like, Grandma, all right. You're making me face my fear. And you know what came to mind too? What came to mind? A week or two ago, at the edge of my pool, where I jump in the pool, there was a sunflower seed. This sunflower seed was the most meticulously taken apart sunflower seed I've ever seen in my life. It was like a sunflower seed that was, there were four, it was spread out over four pieces. Like, I've never seen a sunflower seed taken apart like that. And it was put right where I would be that day. And I said, was this one of the birds giving me a gift that thank you for feeding us? Right? Was this one of the birds giving me a gift? And then fast forward 2 weeks later, I got a gift of my own that I had to overcome that fear that I had as a child and saying, get that thing away from me, and pick that thing up. My grandmother, as soon as she saw that thing, she didn't hesitate. She went inside, got a plastic bag, picked that thing up like it was a dirty piece of paper and threw it in the trash. Didn't flinch, didn't do anything. She was fearless, unshakable confidence to go pick up that dead rat and throw it in the trash. I will admit I was not as strong as my grandmother. I had to double bag it. And I also got a thing that I could throw it on. And when I did it, the tail was still flopping out. I was like, oh. So not only did I pick that out, but there was, I guess, like I said, there was rain, and there must have been, she was trying to make a nest, and that's what all that rubbish and all the leaves and stuff were around there. And there was a sack of babies. And so there was baby mice so I picked up the rat, and then there was another like pod of baby rats that had drowned and passed on. And so I had to do it again. Grandma's like, okay, you saw me do it. You can handle one rat. Now you got a whole family that you got to pick up and deal with, right? So yeah, she was saying, all right, probably one of the only fears that I can consciously be aware of in this moment that I had that she had seen me experience. You got to overcome that now, grandson. Go do that. Go do that. So going back to, when we were in the room in hospice, and, for my aunt to share that, first of all, so courageous. And I thank you for that, and being able to do that. And then to kind of correlate some of the events, and, the arc of light, and Steve Jobs' speech, and, radiate while you're here, and while do that, and then for her to say, I don't know where I lost life. And here I am now, doing everything in my power to help as many people as possible have an awareness to where they can focus their energy on their life. Can we focus our energy on our life to express all that is, and to express everything that we have in us, to live our life for ourselves? And that's not selfish. Living our life for ourselves first is not selfish. We're making selfless choices to connect with what's in, so we can find our purpose, and we can be that. And we can be in moments of joy, be in moments of happiness, feel happiness, feel the leverage and the good side of relativity. Feel the good side of relativity. Leverage that for us. Let's not lose life. Please, can we not lose life? I will spend every moment of every day doing everything possible so that none of us lose life. And if we've lost it, we can find it. We just have to make choices to do so. Let us not lose life. Let us be. Let us experience and experience joy and happiness and love. Make selfless choices. Be love. Give love. Be grateful for what we have and who we are. And appreciate that all of the choices that we make and everything that we accept as truth is who we are now, who we are in this present moment. We are a culmination of all of our present moments past, and every moment now is a seed for the future. What seeds are we planting? What seeds had we planted that we forgot about, that we can now go nourish and we can sprout? What are those seeds? when I was younger, and just a couple episodes ago, before I realized any of this was happening, I talked about that my grandmother had a magnet on her refrigerator that said, yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, and today is a gift, and that's why they call it the present. Yellow, beautiful magnet. Don't know where it is. I was told we'll find it one day. So maybe I'll walk into the store and it'll just be there. I'm like, oh my God, Grandma, thank you for that. But that was a seed that was planted 30 years ago in my life. And for that to be basically the message that I'm helping. And I took time to understand, and it took decades, right? But just as we can, how long does it take to take down a building? Seconds, minutes, weeks. How long does it take to build it? Months, years, right? We can do that. We can collapse what it is that we think that we are. That's not what we are. And we can choose to be insanely great, or our own version of it. And that's another thing that I had realized, and I want to share, because people are probably like, Steve Jobs said insanely great. What's this guy doing? Well, be insanely great didn't come from that. It had came from a branding exercise with an incredible agency called Damn Good, and for a now defunct company. And I took that with me, and I made a poster. And I made a poster in black and white, like not for no logos, no branding of anything. And that just resonated with me. Be insanely great. And I made a poster, and it's traveled with me over the last 5-7 years of my life. And it says, be insanely great, exclamation point. And on the bottom, it says no excuses. And I designed it, and I made it. And that was the seed that I planted, that I kept in my office. And I looked at every single day. I looked at that every single day. And only when I was starting to think about maybe a podcast, I don't even not really listen to them yet. I'm going to go do that. And I'm going to go be this person in front of this thing that had no desire to public speak or do anything or share anything. Shyest kid on the playground. Here I am. So those were the seeds that I planted. And then to come to find out that Steve Jobs said that the greatest people he ever interacted with, he called insanely great. What? Yes, that's amazing. That's amazing. So can we be insanely great? Can we be insanely great? From someone that saw so many people, inspired billions upon billions of people, and will continue to inspire with choices that he made, generations upon generations. Can we do that? Can we give ourselves the chance to do that? Can we do that? I think we can. I think we can. And it all starts with one choice. It all starts with this present moment where all possibilities exist. All potentials exist in the present moment. All potentials exist in the present moment. Can we be here in the present moment? Can we? And so I want to go back to around the bed, my grandmother. And, after my aunt had said that quote, in which I said, yes, thank you, Grandma. I needed that for my podcast episode. As a beautiful butterfly again. Like, yes, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I don't know where I lost life. No, let's not lose life. Let's not do that. Please. Can we not lose life? And if we've lost it, we can find it. So then after that, like, moment in which I'm like, you go, Grandma. That's right. And then to accept it, feel that that's it. It's enough. And, we all, as I said, we all kind of walked up to her and said some we thought at the time, which ultimately ended up being our last words to her. I was the last one to go up to her before we left for the evening. And I said, I love you, Grandma. I said, be free. Be free. And so that was the last time I kissed her on the forehead and I said, "Be free." And then, we left, and then we're going to, slept the next day. And, one thing I want to say too is throughout, I'm so grateful to have the level of awareness in the moment that I have now, to be so focused on choosing joy and choosing positive moments and choosing those things. Because for someone that for my entire life has been, frankly, the cornerstone of inspiration for who I am today and for how I operate my life, before I knew who any of these famous people were that are among the most influential people that walk among us. We all have those influential people that walk among us in our families and in our lives, right? And we can choose to follow the good inspirations, or we can choose to follow the not so good inspirations. But ultimately, the best feelings typically come from following the good inspirations and those good moments. And so I'm so grateful to have this awareness, to have prepared me for this moment. Because I remember when my grandfather passed away, I love, my grandfather, I was so close with him. This is my mother's father, about 15 years ago. And I remember at the funeral crying on my grandmother's shoulder, who just passed, on how much longer am I going to have with you? I was crying. I couldn't stop crying. It was like, and I'm thinking back, it was so selfish because I wasn't even thinking about my grandfather, who I loved so much and was so special to me, and always, made sure I had great experience. He would say, "Hey Jojo, hey Jojo, hey Jojo," call me Jojo. And such a beautiful spirit and a beautiful soul, and always smiling. I tell him about business, and he'd say, "Oh, monkey business," and it's a monkey business. So that's what I was doing, and then to be in this level of awareness of and energy and presence, to realize that I can choose to think about. I can choose to think about the fact that she's literally dying. Her physical body is deteriorating, and she will no longer be here. I can choose to think about that. I can choose to feel the emotions that are focused on that. Or I can choose to flood my mind and my imagination with all of the incredibly wonderful memories and all of the things that I learned from her and all of the things that I continue to think about, all of the amazing experiences that I had. And I didn't, and the amazing thing is when I was there, I didn't think about that. I just naturally thought about all the good things. I naturally was feeling that she was going to be free. She was going to be able to stretch her legs and do everything her body couldn't do anymore, that she was so disappointed that it wasn't able to do the way she wanted to do it. Right? And so I'm so thankful for that. And we can choose that. All of us experience death in our lives around us all the time, every day. Can we give ourselves the chance? And everybody mourns differently and everybody feels things differently. But if we give I feel so, and I'm just saying this only because it's been for fearing this day and these moments for a decade, to be here and have the resolve that I have. I know my grandmother will be proud. I know she is proud. As I said, I've never seen her cry a day in my life. Not to say that she didn't cry in her own time. I'm sure absolutely she did. But I cannot recall a time in which I remember my grandmother crying. She didn't do it. She was strong. She was fearless in moments. Unshakable confidence. Wasn't afraid to tell you you did or didn't do something. Direct, accountable. Queen of accountability, especially in our family. No, you said this. You said you were going to do that. You didn't do that. Can we do that, please? Thank you. right? Can we choose to remember those moments of inspiration? Can we choose to remember those present moments which we were, doing something fun, going to Disney World, or she saved me from the characters downstairs when I was crying, and I was like, get me away from these giant things that are trying to be at our table and make us feel whatever. I didn't want any part of that, so she rescued me and took me away. Those things where we're cooking, where we're making her incredible pineapple squares, or things that she had done, and maybe not even in moments of joy, but maybe even in moments of struggle, in her resolve, in her disposition, and how she chose to operate in all of those present moments. That's what I'm thinking about. And I'm so grateful to my family around me it seemed like that's what they were focusing on. Of course, everybody was crying in their moments, and feeling emotions of sadness that she will no longer physically be here in her body. But that's what. But again, I'm so grateful to be here and be speaking with you without tears running down my face, because I feel that. That's what I want to. I've done that in my own time, in my own place, when it felt right. When it felt right, So that night we left, and I went into the car and turned on the radio. First song it's on the radio as soon as I turned on, "Drift Away" by Cracker. That's the first time I cried in the entire process. And then the next song was a song by George Strait called Marina Del Rey, which my grandmother always used to wear a shirt with a little otter on it. It was beige, tan, like that was her color. She loved beige, tan stuff, multiple shades of it. So she always had this sweater when she went to and in the moment I was thinking it said Marina Del Rey, but it was Monterey Bay. But it was almost to invoke the feeling of a memory of she's great, she's good, and it talked about sunshine, and I just bawled crying the entire drive home, and it was what needed to happen, but it was such a beautiful sequence of events and series of present moments, and I'm so grateful, because I know that her energy was helping to have that happen in my experience. I felt it. I felt her there with me. I felt her. Just as I felt her when she put that rat at the bottom of my thing that I had to pick up the next day, which 2 hours later, I got the call that she had passed on. And I got the call that she had passed on at 1:10 in the afternoon, the 13th hour of the 10th minute of the 13th hour of the day. My grandfather's birthday, who had passed away in 1987, 36 years ago, his birthday was October 13th. They're together. They're dancing. She's stretching her arms and stretching her legs, and she's free. She is free, and she is happy, and she is here. She is here, helping to, even now, within me, my brother-in-law Luke. You were the last text message to get, which, besides my family, which my family has been incredible. Thank you so much, and all my friends. Thank you so much for your love and support, and my wife, and unbelievable. And there were several people that, there's people in your life that are really special to you, but they're not people you talk to every day, but you really love interacting with them. And when you see them, you kind of, liven up and brighten up, and you're like, oh my God, it's so great to see you. And there were 2 or 3 of those people, and I had not reached out to any one of them, and they had each happened to text me that day. And so it was really, really, really beautiful that had happened. But, and again, on the timing, not only was 1013, but my rest of my family was doing all the funeral arrangements. And just as they had finished the funeral arrangements, my aunt looked at her phone and she says, "Oh, no call yet." She put down her phone. They called and said that she had passed, literally right there. Perfect timing. That's what my grandmother was. Everything in its place, and a thing for everything and everything in its place. A place for everything and everything in its place. That's who she was. It's probably where I get the just so Joe from. Everything needs to be perfect and improve upon perfection in every moment and refine and refine and refine and make it better and make it better. I remember another moment from the past that inspired me to think in such a way at a young age. I remember making the bed with my grandmother. And I remember making the bed, and she's got this beautiful, like, lace, just a king bed, but a beautiful, like, lace cover on top of the comforter. And then she got like 15 pillows. She has like 15 little decorative pillows that are like stacked in like a beautiful whatever. And I said, Grandma, why you do this? Like, why you go through this every day? And like, and this defined her style. She had style and she loved it and she made it part of her environment. And she said, Joseph, she says, when I come into a bed, I want to see a beautiful bed. I'm about to go to sleep. I don't want to see something full of a mess. I said, oh, that makes sense. And then we're making the bed. And she says, no matter what you do, give it your best. No matter whether you're making a bed, whether you're building something, you're creating something, whatever it is that you're doing, give it your best. Give it your full attention. Give it your full intention and care. Give it your best. And that stuck with me, and that will continue to stick with me throughout my entire life. I've led teams of people with that ethos. I've throughout my professional career done incredible things, and I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity to have done. Anything you do, give it your best. Something so simple, but I thought about that, and I'm like, how do I do that in everything? And then I thought, like, okay, I need to give them. And every time I wanted to give up or give it a half-ass, she would say, you did that half-ass. She'd tell me, you did that half-ass. Did you do that half-ass or did you really give it your best? She would say that. And she was right. Absolutely. Hold me accountable. Give it my best. Why not? Why not? If we're here to live, if our life is an arc of light, and we don't want to lose life, why shouldn't we give life our best? Every moment of our life our best. Why shouldn't we? Could we give ourselves that opportunity and give us credit to appreciate and be grateful for that? And just look back on what we did when we do give our things our best. If we're honest with ourselves and we look back at the things that we've done, the things that we gave our best, the things that we gave our love to and our attention to and our care, those are the things that either are still with us, or those are the things that have resonated with the multitude of people and souls and beings, probably beyond what we ever imagined. Those are the things that we give our best to. Those are the things that become the expression of who it is that we are inside and all of our unique selves, right? That's what it is. Give it our best. Give it our best. And so, so that's been my week. That's been my week. That's been my current experience with what every one of us experience around us, the change in life called death, in which our energy that beats our hearts and the energy that moves our fingers and the energy that gives us the awareness to know where we are and to have and then generate all thoughts and all imagination. That energy leaves the physical body, and then the physical body becomes part of what is here and all that is matter, right? And so the way I choose, and I've chosen to look at this transition called death for my grandmother, who quite honestly has been and will continue to be the most inspirational being in my life to this point and moving forward, is is what I choose to focus on, what I choose to remember, and what I choose in every moment to do, to make choices for. So I'm going to remember all the good moments. I'm going to remember all the moments in which I learned something. I'm going to remember all the, fun and all the crazy and all the, moments in which there was an element of character that was incredible. That happened to also be the same elements of character of all of the most influential people that have walked among us. And all of the characteristics of all of us that would, if we reflect on who we are, that we're most proud of. And so I am choosing to think about those things. I am choosing to be excited that she's free. Her energy is free. And that her energy doesn't live in a separate body that I have to go someplace to see and experience and be with. But her energy is now within the hearts of everybody that she's ever touched and had an interaction with that was meaningful. Her energy is now in the heart of everyone. And it's being expressed through all of us in every moment. If we choose to do that, and we can choose to do that with everyone that we love, that we lose to death. Everyone. We can do that if we choose. If we choose. And I can tell you, it is incredible. There are absolutely moments of sadness and tears and never gonna physically see my grandmother who I love. But I know she was in a body that didn't do what she wanted to do. Right? So when I look at her obituary, I'm like, I see a beautiful picture of her at her birthday with her cousins and everybody. And she's radiant and beautiful. And she was living life in that moment. And that's how I'm going to remember her. That's how I'm going to remember her. And that's how I'm going to remember her energy, her radiance, her joy, her love, her selflessness. That's how I'm remembering her. And that's how I'm choosing to remember her. And so many of us, it's so easy. And as I shared in my story with my grandfather, like I was devastated. I was devastated for never being able to see him again. And the first thing I thought of is, oh my God, that's going to happen. That's going to happen to you some point. It's like we have these feelings and we're instantly attracted to something that could happen. Like, oh, it doesn't have to be, because that's how society and that's how our culture and that's how our family and that's how all of our generations before us have operated. That's not how we have to operate if we so choose. We're all in our own worlds. We all make our own choices. We all have our own path. We are all on our own journey. We all should be cooking with our own pot. Right? Cook with your own pot. And so, that's life. That's what, we're here to express. We're here to feel joy. We're here to experience happiness and to give love. Love in the definition of the romantic sense is so limited that it makes us feel scared to put love in a card of a friend. It's like, oh, I don't want him to think something weird. No, we don't have to do that. Love is selflessness. Love is selfless choices. That's what love is. Love is an unconditional choice. Love is an unconditional feeling. It's a feeling of just appreciating it for what it is and having no judgment. My grandmother never judged anybody. She certainly had opinions of discernment so she could make choices in her life as to whether to do this or whether to not do that. Absolutely. But discerning something versus judging are two different things. When there's a judgment, there's blame immediately attached and says, oh, they did this and blah, 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 blah. Well, what if, but looking at a circumstance and not assigning judgment for the understanding of our own consciousness, to learn something and take it away and to do something with that and to accept a truth that we appreciate and we understand, that is discernment. That is something that builds character. That is something that we learn from other people's experiences. We learn from observing. We learn from being the observer. We learn, could we imagine if we approach life in that way, to where we're not having to physically have these tumultuous or struggle experiences, but we can learn from others. So where Steve Jobs had to be part of two companies that he was CEO of at the same time, Pixar and Next, or leader of both, and to see the complexities and all the craziness that existed there, and him having to go through that and to realize that simplicity was the answer. And then when he came back to Apple, oh, look what happened. He had to do the same thing. He had to do the same thing to be able to do that. I'm going to say, no, move all the clutter. We need to focus. We need to be and go back to, get back. We need to get back to our soul of who we are. We need to get back to our soul of Apple. He, that's what he did when he came back to Apple, is he said, we need to get back to the soul of who we are and why we're doing this. Why are we doing this? We're here to, and we're here to invoke feelings of joy and excitement around technology. That's what we're here to do. That's what we're here to do. That's what he did. That's what he did. Right. And so just as he did that for them, and you know, my grandmother in every moment, and my grandma in every moment will be that inspiration for me to get back to who I am. Give it your best. Cook with your own pot. You know, be selfless. Give it love. Do not judge. Be radiant. Be joyful. Have fun. Have fun. Have fun. Can we do that? Yes, we can, if we choose. If we choose to do it. And it's so easy. Listen, I know it's so easy to be flooded with emotions and to be flooded with pain. And we have to overcome those. We have to express what's inside that's eating us inside. We have to express, whether it's something that's a feeling as to we're not going to be with somebody or be in the physical presence of somebody, as in this case called death. That's absolutely needs to be expressed with crying or whatever it is. But there's also emotions that we have, of feelings that we have for other people, that we choose to keep inside and not say anything because we don't want to rock the boat. We don't want to rock the boat. The lyrics in Dig a Pony, John Lennon, you can syndicate any boat. We syndicate the boats. What does syndicate mean? We are the captain of that ship. We charter the ship and we run the ship. We do that, right? We do that. But because we don't want to rock the damn boat, rock it. And you know what happens? Goes away. All storms, every storm runs out of rain, as Maya Angelou says, which was also something that Kobe Bryant said in a short clip that I saw. You know, believe in yourself and get through every storm, because you'll come out to the other side and be dedicated and make good choices. Right, and I mentioned the beautiful nature Disney film, Wings of Life. So beautiful. If you want to see something so simple in which flowers give love to insects and insects give love to flowers, and the exchange that happens and the beauty that happens as a result, check that out. But what if the wings of life were perseverance and our own inner power, or determination, whatever synonym of perseverance that you want, you know, of our own inner power, our own inner purpose? What if those were our wings? What if those were our wings? That once we had that, we can fly and we can do whatever it is that we want to do. We can have, we can do, and we can be anything we can imagine. We can do that if we choose in this moment now, because all that exists now is the present moment. All that exists, everything is happening right now in this moment. Everything that is happening, all past, all future, is happening now. We are either nurturing seeds that we planted, whether we planted them or our ancestors planted them or whatever. We are nurturing those seeds, or picking up those seeds and sprouting into whatever life it is that we want to give to it. Or we are planting seeds for our future that either others or as seeds of inspiration or within our own selves will then take on and grow and develop into. That is that is the description of what life is and what being in the present moment means. Time doesn't exist except for as being a record of when those things happen. But those moments are influencing our now, and those moments now are influencing the then. What does that then look like? What are we doing to make? What are we actually going to be creating? What is that? Have we thought about that? I know I hadn't thought about that at all. I had not. But now I have, and I'm so grateful to have come into the awareness in which I made choices that allowed me to think about that. And it's okay to make a choice today and then change it tomorrow. That happens. We do that. Every present moment is an opportunity to make a choice. So that means if you've made bad choices, you can now make good choices. And it might take a little longer to overcome those choices, but it'll eventually happen. And we just need to trust that. We just need to trust that. And if we made good choices, then that's amazing. Then you're in a better spot. You're in a much better spot. And you continue to build on that and leverage and get to a place in which everything that we receive is what we get. Hotel California, what does the night man said? The night man says we're programmed to receive. Yeah, I'm going to touch on it. I said we'll talk about it. We're not going to talk about it today, but I'll touch on it. I'll touch on one lyric to maybe inspire someone to go check out the lyrics and read the lyrics. We are here to receive as observers. And what we consciously think about and we consciously feel becomes what's around us. And we see in others what's inside and what we are. And as John Lennon says again, we can imitate anyone we know. That means imitate good qualities, bad qualities, taking little pieces of truth that we accept from either the most influential people that have walked among us, Aristotle, Socrates, Marcus Aurelius, Oprah, J-Lo, Kobe Bryant, Jay-Z and Beyonce. Again, amazing. Thank you, Jay-Z. Thank you, Beyonce. Saw 2 short reels of you. Believe in yourself. Can we believe in ourselves? Can we believe in ourselves and make choices? Both of them have incredible stories of where they started to now where they are. Right? Look at what they've done. All of these people came from humble beginnings. And they made choices every day toward something that they believed in, that they felt was their purpose and their expression. As Jay-Z says, we need to express. We're all saying the same thing, but can we spend some time focusing on that for ourselves, for our life? So we don't know where life goes. So we don't get to a point in which we have to say to ourselves, I don't know where I lost life. Do not allow yourself to lose life. Life is here. Life is now. Life is in the present moment, in every present moment. I love you, Grandma.